Okay, now what I'm finding out with this Ecamm Live Pro 4.4.2 or 3 program, if you have the microphone turned off and you have the settings for like they're not supposed to be mute or whatever, it will unmute it. So I like that part. But there are some things where I go to my opening and closing where I have it locked, so it doesn't allow any muting. Well, it has it mute on my microphone. It doesn't do that. If I leave it on, sometimes in the ending you'll hear my voice or my dog or something like that. So there are some quirks in it, but I'm getting used to it. I like the older program version better, and this is the only one that I update, to test things out. The other ones, I leave it alone. Everything works fine. I still don't like the sharing part of where you have to choose either a preview or Chrome or whatever like that. It just gives me an extra step to do. And then you have to remember if you unmute the mic sometimes or have it going from the last video. It's complicated. So best thing is just to create a new scene and then start from there. But I hate doing that. Um, anyway, so let's go to now. The previous video, I thought I was doing the GR3, Ricoh GR3. It was the GR3X, which is a 40 megapixel camera that can crop to 50 and 71 millimeters. Okay. Uh, this is the GR3. 28 millimeters, he'll do a 35 and 50, in crop. So I just want to point that out. I get confused also. Um, I do have different colored versions of the cameras. So one is gold, and what I'm doing is I'm moving my pictures over here. And before I mess with Ecamm, I hide the sidebar, and I am going to make it full frame. Okay. All right. Um, anyway, uh, this is about the GR3. Okay. So, street photography, I have a different color lens. It comes with, what was it? A different, two different models, all right? Um, and I forget what they're called. And I'm out of focus again. Now, I'm going to go here to the share, okay? And I got to put it on Google Chrome, okay, for it to work. So they have different models, all right? They have the GR3, GR3 HDF, GR3X, the GR3X HDF, okay? I thought they were like an 18 megapixel camera for the 28 millimeter, but it looks like they're 24.2 APS-C CMOS. Yeah, they have on the HDF, they create a softer diffused image quality. They also have, okay, so they have the GR3 Diary Edition, which is metallic gray body with silver accents. They have the GR3X Urban Edition, which is a navy blue ring cap. And then they got the Street Edition, which I got, metallic gray body with an orange yellow accent color. That's what I got. Okay. Uh, I like this generative or yeah AI and experimental. Um, okay, so the 3 is the 28 megapixel or 28 millimeter equivalent compared to the and a 24.24 megapixel APS-C one. That's for the GR3. The GR3X is the same megapixels, but equivalent to a 40 millimeter equivalent. Okay. And they talked about the different things, but that's enough of that. Let's get back to here. Let me close this down. Let me go to my preview. Now I got to change it. See, these are extra steps that I have to do. I can pause it, but before I would just put one or the other. Now with this new program, it won't let me change it. I have to move it to a different camera or a different scene in order to show this. And I don't like that. Uh, I think they want you to put in preview and stuff. And then I start getting mixed up. I don't like it. So now I go back over here. I go into click on this to, come on. Oh, go to new scene. Now I click on it and show. Now I have to go to preview. And it's not showing anything. Oh my goodness, current application. Okay, now let's go to preview. I don't know if this is going to work. Yeah, it is. Okay. They make things so complicated. So anyway, 28 millimeter macro. Okay. Simple as that. Macro, 28 millimeter. So this is just focusing on the bench. This is the whole scene. I have it above instead of straight. So that's why you're getting the kind of barrel distortion. It's just the way you hold it. Okay. So the upper part is closer. You get a wider field of view. Then as you go down, it's a smaller point of view. Okay. So my lava lamp or lava rock lamp. It's not with the bubbles. It's actually, I think, crystal with lights. All right. I forget what type of rock it's called, but macro. Same thing with Yennefer from The Witcher, 28 millimeter. Okay, now what I did was I cropped it. Now, listen carefully to what I'm saying. 28 millimeter crop, 30, 35 millimeter crop, 50 millimeter crop. Got that? So the 35 and 50 millimeter crop, and what I mean is I got it in macro mode. That's what I meant. All right. So these are the macros in the 28, I mean, in the 35. Well, it's in the 28, 35, and 50, which the 35 and 50 are in crop mode. Okay. Complicated. Sorry. Next picture is the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 Creator Combo, 28 millimeter. That's another shot from above. Macro. 28 macro. 28 macro. And look how sharp it is. It can see the dust on the glass. 28 macro, macro. They're not very good in low noise, so sometimes you have to turn on a light so I can have better focusing. I did find that on high contrast backgrounds like a flower or something, I could not get the 28 millimeter macro to work no matter what. So I had to just back up and just take a 28 millimeter as close as possible. But you'll see that later, and I'll describe the problem I was having. I had no problem with macros on the 35 or 50 millimeter um, in the crop mode. So, but I had the same problem with this Angel. It's, I guess, the reflective part. I could not get it in macro at all. So here, I had a little problem with focusing. And then these are at 28 millimeters. But you see, you either point at one or the other to get one sharp. You can't get both of them sharp. Even when I backed up, I could not get them sharp. So, and I'm trying to keep it at the same distance where I go into macro, where you can bring it a little bit closer, but I'm standing in the same position. I don't move much. You just try to focus it on the LCD screen to get it working. And I'm hoping my hands aren't making you. Oh, he's focus breathing again, but I'll keep him to my side. Okay. So here's my timer, macro, picture of my wife. So you see, and that's at 28 millimeters, macro. So the macro on this one is not as sharp as I would consider it on the GR3X, which I like better. It's a 40 megapixel camera, which is closer to the human eye equivalent. I think 43 is the one. That's why Leica came out with the Q3 43 millimeter. And that's more to your vision. I think peripheral vision. Anyway, they decided either 40 millimeter or 50 millimeter, and everybody went for the nifty 50. So, anyway, macro 28 millimeter, same thing. So you can see this back and forth. And then my cat is looking at me, and I could not. So, dark contrast too, I cannot get a macro off of him. And then, of course, I did the motherboard, and then these are macros. You can see how sharp they are. So different types of stuff, you can get macro out of it, but some you just can't. So 28, macro, macro, macro. And that's at 28 millimeter, but I like the memory, all right? The white covering. This is the old DDR3, I think. But still, these motherboards have failed, but I still like have them on the wall for memory's sake. Anyway, 28 millimeters. This is where I cropped in to 35 and 50. Macro, 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 flowers, macro, macro, macro. So you can see where I brought it in closer for macro and one was 28 millimeters. Same thing on another different view of the Tiffany lamp. And then outside, the sun came out, but it's still overcast, which I like. I like cooler days. I don't mind the clouds. In fact, I think they give it a little bit more character, especially at sunset which I might take pictures with these cameras, to finish off the day. Here's the cat and dog. Now, see, 50 millimeter, 35 millimeter, 28 millimeter. 35, 50. And then clouds, 50. And you notice that at 50, it's darker, okay, on your exposure. When you go to 35, it's a little bit brighter. And then, of course, 28, the most. But I like the cloud formations, and it shows kind of get close. So it gives you a different perspective on the same picture. Same thing with this tree. So as you zoom in, it gets a little bit darker, okay? And that's because of the exposure. And the same thing with right here. I had a hard time focusing on the cloud. So you do part sky, part cloud. Then it will focus. If you do just the sky or the cloud, it won't focus. You have to get the contrast, and that's where you focus on. Okay. Let's see what else. The flowers, my favorite. Now I'm cropping, but look how good it is at cropping. I like the 43 megapixel better. I mean the GR3X better, the 40 megapixel, but this isn't bad at 28 megapixels. And I think it can make the now the Q3 is a 60 megapixel camera, but I like doing the macro on that. But I find it easier to do it on these cameras and the Fuji X106. Okay. So anyway, on the 6, I think you just bring it closer and it goes automatically in macro. Here you got to press a special button. It's been a while. I get mixed up on cameras. I forget settings, and then I have to try it again to get used to it. So macro 35, 28. I don't know. And that's the last picture. Okay. But now I'm going to end it on this one. So as always, thank you for watching. Remember to stay safe, keep smiling, and I'll see you next time. Bye, folks. Have a wonderful day. Now, I'm going to see if this works, okay? But I want a full picture on it. So I have to go to here for my Nikon Z6 III. So I can put this one on full screen. And I'll crop it a little bit like that. Maybe one more. You know what? I'm not. I'm going to do it like that. Okay. So this is what I want. All right. Bye, folks. Have a wonderful day.